Hello and welcome to the Wellness Connection podcast with Fiona Kane. I'm your host, Fiona Kane. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the body positive movement. So, I have recently broached this topic in, not recently, but earlier in episode 5. So, you can go back and listen to episode 5 to hear me talking about it there as well. There, I was talking more specifically about the health at every size movement, but this is sort of part of it. So you can go back there to hear my thoughts about that. So, the body positive movement. It's one of those things that it's like a lot of things, there's good and there's bad. Sometimes, like, two things can be true at the same time. And this is an example of one of those things. So, the the good thing about the I can't even say it. The good thing about the body positive movement is that it does take the pressure off for many of us who've been up and down in our weight throughout our lives, or we live in different sized bodies. There has always been quite a pressure to feel that you should be a certain size or a certain weight. And many of us have been on many diets and really struggled over the years to try and, fit into the mold of whatever, attractive was or acceptable was, or whatever the going terminology. So many of us have struggled with that. And the body positivity movement is essentially like an acceptance movement, accepting your body and accepting your shape, your size, whatever. And that's really positive for many reasons. And one of those is that it does take the pressure off. It does allow you to be accepted for who you are. So it allows you to belong rather than fit in. And anyone who's read any of Brene Brown's work will know that she talks about this. I think it might be in the Atlas of the Heart. It might be that book. But she did talk about that in there, where she was referring to the difference between fitting in and belonging. So fitting in is kind of like bending yourself backwards, upside, whatever, to be what you think that the other people want you to be, whereas belonging is just belonging for who you are. Okay. So a movement that does that, that's a really good thing. So the fact that we can just belong, as opposed to try and fit in with others, is overall generally a healthy thing. Again, like this, everything's got its limits. So that's a good thing. And it is okay that we have different bodies. We do have different bodies. It's just how it is. And not health isn't okay. A size 8 or a size 10 isn't the only thing that might be healthy. And it may or may not be healthy because it depends on a whole bunch of other things. So you can be healthy at many sizes, absolutely. And you can be very, very unhealthy at either end of the spectrum. So if you're too large, too small, both of those can be really unhealthy. And you can be unhealthy in between, right? So there's people of all different sizes who have health issues, and there's people of all different sizes who are quite healthy. So again, it's not sort of definite sort of your weight absolutely controls your level of health, or explains your level of health. However, yeah, it is a good idea if most of us can be within a certain weight range. I don't know that the BMI is a good one for that, but generally speaking, most human beings do better if we're not carrying too much weight, especially abdominal weight, because abdominal weight does relate a lot to insulin resistance and prediabetes, which is prediabetes, and then it can lead to diabetes and heart disease and all of those nasty things. So essentially, when weight is affecting our health, that is a problem. Anyway, so the good thing about the body positive movement is it's an acceptance and a belonging, as opposed to trying to fit in, because sometimes trying to fit in, we can do really unhealthy things to do that as well, right? So it's good in that way, and it's good that we do accept that there are different shapes and sizes. I think that's a good thing as well, because not everyone needs to be a size 8, 10, 6, whatever it is, to be healthy, whatever the latest idea of health or beauty is. It's also, I think it creates some healthy boundaries as well, as far as it allows us to make choices for ourselves and say, no, my boundary is that I'm not going to buy into all of that diet culture or all of that slimming culture or whatever it is. So it empowers people to empower themselves and make choices around those things, because if they're not trying to fit in and they're working on belonging, it's a different thing, right? So I think that does empower people to create some healthy boundaries in their life and for themselves, and make choices maybe not to buy into certain aspects of diet culture and things like that that they may find are harmful to them. So that's a good thing. So the downside or the challenge associated with the body positive movement is when we use it as an excuse to completely trash our bodies, when we promote it on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, fill in the blanks for whichever social media platform, when we're sharing our day, people sort of complain about the diet culture of, nutritionists or dietitians sharing a day on my plate as being unhealthy. I would argue that, someone like Lizzo sharing a day on her plate, which is full of junk food, is also unhealthy, right? So I think that what happens is, in the idea of having acceptance, we've actually gone a little bit further than that, and we're actually almost applauding and encouraging people to trash their bodies and eat a whole bunch of junk food and end up with weight problems and health problems in relation to that. So I think what it does is it that with there's archetypes that we have as human beings, and one of those archetypes we have is the archetype of the rebellious child. And the rebellious child is the one that says, "Oh, you can, shove all your diet, so I'm going to just eat what I want, and I'm just going to eat chocolate all day, or junk food all day, or whatever it is," right? And the what happens sometimes in this body positive movement is, what it does do is it encourages people to be in that mode and to live in that mode. And that is not a healthy place to live. It's a place that you can visit, and sometimes we do need to visit that place if we've had a history of issues around dieting and childhood where we've been restricted and all those things. Sometimes it can be healthy to visit the place of the uninhibited rebellious child who just says, "Up yours, and I want to eat what I like." So it's a place that sometimes, visiting there is a useful thing to and something maybe that is required for you to move to the next place, right? But it's not a place to live. And a lot of these body positive movement people are living there, and they're encouraging other people to live there too. And so they're literally encouraging people to trash their bodies and to trash themselves, right? That is not a healthy movement. That is not body positive, in my opinion, because to me, body positive, in acceptance of your body to me also means inhabiting your body. It means nourishing your body and caring for your body. And so if your idea of the body positive movement is to trash your body and be the rebellious teenager, the rebellious child, that is not body positive at all. It's actually just being a rebellious child. And so even if we want to have our moment to be a rebellious child, we all do sometimes, that's okay. We need to move past that and actually move into the mode of the adult, the grown up, because it actually should be the adult who is driving the car, not the rebellious child. And the adult understands the need for connecting with your body and listening to your body and nourishing your body. And part of nourishing your body means eating a healthy diet. It doesn't mean you can't, and like I've talked about it before in other episodes, nourishing can also mean sometimes having the chocolate or sometimes doing the thing. That's fine. Sometimes we're nourishing the soul, but generally speaking, we're nourishing our body. And we forget sometimes, and I think I have talked about this before, but there's language we use. We use language around freedom, and we talk about our freedom to do what we want. And so sometimes when we see this again, this body positive movement, it's like, oh, we've got the freedom to do what we want. Yay, we've got the freedom to do what we want. And freedom from having to do the diet or be a certain way or be expected to be look a certain way, whatever. And like that can be great. There's a lot about that can be great. But we also have the freedom to. And the freedom that we have, the freedom to, is the freedom to look after our body, the freedom to inhabit and embrace and respect and nourish ourselves, right? So there's a freedom to do that. So I think that sometimes we get caught up in the freedom from and oh, I don't have to do anything. It's like, kid leaving school, you walk out school, you throw, and I remember this, I was 15 when I left school. I remember like just throwing away the school books and saying, oh, I don't have to do any of that anymore, right? And it's true. You've got the freedom from having to do that. But the truth is you're now an adult, even though I was 15, I took on an adult life then. And now you're an adult. You have to actually do grown up things. So there's actually also the freedom too. There's things I still needed to do. And essentially, if you want a life where you are well and where you stay functional and you get to enjoy your life, for most of that, we really need to respect our bodies in order to do that. There are that handful of people that get away with it, but that's not most of us, right? So essentially, we need to learn how to nourish ourselves. If your idea of the body positive movement is, yes, to accept who you are, that you're a certain shape, size, whatever, because pears and apples and this and that and tall and short and all the rest of it, and that you might carry a bit more weight, and you might just be a completely different size to other people, all of those things, and accept that there's a certain amount of just who we are that is who we are. Absolutely. And if your idea of the body positive movement is not only do you accept that, but then you also love and support and nourish that and nourish your body to be the healthiest version of what it can be within the bounds of what's going on for you, that can be a really, really positive thing. If you see the body positive movement as a way to embrace the child who is rebellious and who's just going to trash yourself, that's not a very healthy movement. And it's like all movements. There's always different parts of a movement, and there's just parts that can be toxic. So essentially there's really positive and really great parts of the body positive movement. There are also really, really toxic parts of the body positive movement, like all movements. So just have an awareness around, if you're buying into that movement, which can be a really good thing, but have an awareness around what you're buying into, what your feelings are around it, what will be supportive of you. And like a lot of things, sometimes just need to we choose what to accept and reject. So you kind of say, okay, these bits are good. I really like this. I can work with this. That is fabulous. And that really is positive for me and nourishing for me. These bits over here, not so good, not so nourishing for me. I'm not going to take part in that, right? So that we can take parts in, because I know that lately, kind of politically, people have gotten really all kind of like all in or all out with things. Right? We don't have to be all in or all out with things. We can pick and choose. So you can see a movement and say, okay, look, I'm looking at this movement and there's all of these aspects of the movement that I just love. And I really relate to those. I'm really into those, and I'm going to just be part of that. That is just really what I want to do. You can also say, there's parts of it that don't work for me, and I'm not going to be part of that. And that is fine. So don't get caught up in we have to be all or nothing, or we have to accept the whole shebang just because someone puts across it, this is what we need to accept. No, just accept the parts that work for you. So just a reminder that the body positive movement, it can and is a great thing for many people. And I think it's a healthy thing to come along. And I think that it was absolutely needed, because I grew up in the diet culture and I understand it. And I understand that, like many movements, there's often or usually really good, there's a good heart behind it. There's a good reason behind it. There's sense behind it. And then there is also the people who take it too far, or the people who become toxic with things. And so we just have to have an awareness around uh, being aware of that, having a radar for that, and not buying into the things that are not going to be helpful for you. Today, as well, just as I forgot to say in the beginning, I studied with the Institute for the Psychology of Eating with Mark David, who's based in Colorado. And today I had a call this morning. I had a call with the alumni of people who did my course, and this is something that Mark was discussing. So I also want to credit him that, not word for word, a lot of this is my version of it. So I don't want to, I want to credit him for inspiring it and for teaching me some of this, but I also don't want to pretend he said things he didn't say. This is my words. However, I was inspired by that. And one of the people in the group actually reminded me of that, the part of Brene Brown's work as well, where she talks about the difference between being, trying to fit in, as opposed to belonging. So that's just, I was inspired by my group this morning. So thanks to my group and thanks to Mark David, who is my mentor for this. Anyway, it's just so you know that this is the kind of work that I do with clients. I work with people in regards to nutrition, but also in regards to some of this psychology stuff around it. So that's just for your information. If you need someone to help you with this, I work online mostly as well, and also in the Hawkesbury in Sydney. Anyway, I hope that this has been helpful for you. Sometimes I think people get caught up in having to buy a whole shebang of something, or they get confused when they see toxic elements of it. And it's not Scientology. You don't have to join it and totally devote and agree with all of it, or whatever other religions or cults or other things that are around there. So not just picking on Scientology, but it's right for the picking. It is these are things where you can pick and choose what works for you. So do that. Look after yourself and use your intuition to be part of what is right for you. Anyway, I hope that was useful for you. Please like, subscribe, and share. It will mean a lot to me if you do that. Share this with your friends. Tell your friends about it. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, where you can do comments, please comment and tell me. Or if you're watching it on Facebook or something like that. But please comment and let me know what you think about this topic. Do you think I'm right? Do you think that that I'm wrong about some of this? My request is always just conversations to be respectful. That's all. We can have different opinions, but still be respectful. So anyway, I hope this is useful, and I will talk to you all again soon. Thank you. Bye bye.